everyone's afraid to speak up.
And at the end of the day, the most valuable and powerful thing that we have is our voice.
For those who don't quite fit in and never wanted to, I'm Sophia Angelica, and this is the Non-Conformess.
Welcome back, guys, to the Non-Conformess, a space for people who never quite fit the mold and never wanted to. Today's conversation challenges one of the most deeply rooted beliefs we grow up with, the idea that family is everything, no matter what. Melissa Gallagher is a content creator who has built a powerful platform of hundreds of thousands and millions of viewers by sharing her healing journey, raising awareness around mental health, and showing what it really looks like to choose yourself, even when it means walking away from what the world tells you you're supposed to hold on to. From making the incredibly difficult decision to go no contact with her family, to building a life rooted in peace, freedom, and self-defined love, her story is the definition of non-conformity. Melissa, thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So first of all, I kind of want to talk a little bit about your social media journey, that you've built this giant platform talking about mental health, your personal story. So what made you decide to share something like so personal publicly?
Well, at first, I didn't have the intentions of becoming like public. I was just like posting on social media kind of as an outlet for myself because I had a lot of feelings that growing up I wasn't really allowed to express. So eventually with social media, I thought, okay, I could express them. No one's really going to see it. And It's just for like me, myself, and I, even though my account wasn't on private. And eventually like I posted this one video and it went viral. And then I started creating this series called the Labor Series, which was giving people the ability to be seen and heard with various aspects about themselves regarding like mental health or different statuses within the family. And so I just started making videos like that and it went viral. And eventually I realized like, oh wait, hey, like I can talk about the things that have happened to me and maybe it can help someone. And then I realized that I can do this for a living. And so it's just been like that ever since.
It's really difficult. I could understand like being vulnerable in front of so many people. I suppose for people who don't really know too well, maybe they don't follow you yet. Can you share, I guess, a little brief like overview of your journey, the stuff that maybe you talk about online, you know?
Okay, so at 18, I was made homeless by my father. I had like consistent physical abuse, like verbal abuse within the family. And eventually, like at 12 years old, CPS had gotten involved and it was kind of just like swept under the rug. And eventually, like as going on and on, like my father was able to take anger management classes, but that didn't really do much of anything. I feel like there should have been like more resources put in place in order to actually bring about some kind of like positive change. And so eventually at 18, my father was sick. And so I was taking care of him for over a year when he was sick and in the hospital. And eventually at 18, I became homeless because he created an unsafe scenario within our home, which like threatened my life and my safety. So ever since then, I've just been on my own. I think a couple months had passed and he tried to, I guess in his way, he thought he was repairing. Things were okay for like a short amount of time, but it just went back to the same kinds of things. And I'm pretty sure my father just has an undiagnosed like mental health disorder. Maybe if he were to get treatment, maybe things could be different. But if someone doesn't want to change and they don't want to improve themselves, then it's not necessarily the responsibility of a child, or I would say like necessarily anyone else, to have to force someone to go through with that. So ever since then, I've just been on my own and just working on my own healing journey and trying to support my life. And so I went to nursing school at 17, I graduated at 21, but it was during that journey at 19, eventually I decided to go no contact with my family. And so I would say that the healing journey is like an up and down journey. It's not necessarily super consistent or linear. So sometimes I've had to break no contact. Sometimes I've had to maintain it. There are like periods of time where I do get sad about like my situation, but then there's other situations and periods of time where I feel like very grateful for the life I've been able to build for myself. But despite everything, I've been able to graduate school and travel the world and gain a new perspective about life and just focus on healing myself.
Yeah, and I can imagine that throughout that journey, you know, there are people that say, you know, family is everything. That's kind of, it's almost like the expectation. It's what's normal in society, right? So what has that experience been like, kind of going against what maybe society tells you is right?
I would say that that's how society should be. Like, I mean, no person should necessarily have to like alienate themselves from their family, because I would say that like it's literally a biological thing to where children want to be associated with their parents. They want to have community. They want to have family. But there are certain situations where not everyone is going to necessarily have that kind of support system or safe environment. So in situations like that, where repair isn't something that can be orchestrated, then some people do have to like break away from that kind of mold in order to like prioritize their own safety, their own like mental well-being, their own life. And so yeah, I think that sometimes it is necessary. I don't encourage other people to necessarily go no contact because it's a trend. I think that it's a very like tough and serious decision that someone has to make within themselves, because at the end of the day, every single relationship is going to have hardships, whether it's family member, a partner, friendships. You're going to have turmoils, you're going to have ups and downs. But the whole point of having relationships in general is being able to communicate and to compromise and to be able to repair certain situations if there's any conflicts that arise. But in certain family dynamics or within people themselves, some people don't want to repair, some people don't want to change, some people don't want to communicate. And in scenarios like that, it's just necessary to be able to choose yourself regardless of what society says.
It's difficult. It's a difficult choice for sure. Like, I'm really close with my family. It's like, for me, I couldn't imagine being apart from them. But there's also your chosen family, people that you find along the way that become family.
Yes.
And I know that you found that, right? So once you kind of found a version of family, like, how would you describe that feeling, that emotional journey?
I think mainly when you grow up in abuse and you grow up with like conflicting scenarios, you mature a lot faster. You have to like endure like a lot of hardships. Like, it's a lot of trauma that's like going on to your brain, and a lot of the times people don't realize the kind of impact that your childhood can have like on your adulthood and who you want to become as an individual. And as you grow older, you have to keep digging through those things that you've been through in your life to see why you are the way that you are, and to ensure that you don't end up of making like terrible life decisions. I can say that coming from an abusive background, the likelihood of me being in an abusive relationship or surrounding myself with other like toxic, abusive people is really high. And that's something that I've had to work on a lot. And so I guess like by my luck, I was able to meet someone who doesn't exemplify those kinds of qualities. So I'm able to have the kind of life that I wish my mother and my father had. I have the relationship that I wish that they had. And so I do at times feel some kind of guilt. Like, I feel that sometimes because I'm like, I wish that things could have been different. But at the same time, I have to acknowledge that I'm in this position because I made decisions along the way to choose better and to not self-sabotage myself. So being able to be in a healthy, safe relationship where we're able to communicate with each other, we're compromising, no one is necessarily like being so toxic and abusing the other, and just being able to feel safe. Like, safety is a privilege that I never really had growing up. So when I first experienced it, I felt like really uncomfortable because it's not the normal. And a lot of the times, like, that's why a lot of children end up of being in abusive relationships as they grow older into adults, because that's what's familiar to them. And so for me, being in a healthy relationship, I had to learn how to accept that and how to break the mold and to go beyond what's familiar. And so being in this situation now and getting used to it and learning that I do deserve good things and that I don't deserve to be mistreated, etc., it feels really nice. Like, just being able to, and just being able to have like safety and like unconditional love where I don't necessarily need to perform. And I feel like that's one of the biggest things for eldest daughters specifically, is that a lot of us, being able to be loved is kind of transactional in a way, and we always are performing in order to be seen and to be able to be noticed and appreciated. And so being in a space where I don't have to do that is really, really nice.
I mean, the world feels a little transactional in just the way it's formed.
Yeah.
Like I was actually just talking with a friend the other day about like the entertainment industry and how like the industry that I'm in consistently feels transactional. It's like what can you do for me? You know, like how can you help me? And if not, you're not important enough. You know,
yeah, exactly.
That's a consistent trend in the entertainment industry alone, where it's like, you know, what, like getting ahead to succeed, that kind of thing. What happened to like being human?
Yeah. And I would say like in abusive relationships, they don't necessarily give you anything in return. It's all about what you can be for them, what you can do for them. And so you're like constantly like exhausting yourself of all of your like resources and your sanity, and you're giving all of yourself. And for me, necessarily, like I had to grow up learning to be what my parents wanted me to be. And if I didn't fit within the mold that they wanted, then I was useless. And so learning to like break the mold and be able to like accept that love doesn't have to be transactional, and that someone can love you and appreciate you exactly as you are, and realizing that everyone is going to have flaws, but it's just something that you have to consistently just like work through, and just like appreciating each other, and not like expecting someone to necessarily just like do all of these things for you, and just being as you are, like that's just enough.
It's like you just do what you feel. Like I talk about like this a lot too, where it's like, you know, in any relationship, you know, friendship, partner, family, it's like it shouldn't be like an expectation that you get what you want from them. Like it's kind of like a love language, where in the sense that everyone has their own way of showing love or showing how they feel. So you just kind of accept each other's love languages and how each of you show love, or how each of you express yourselves. And like rather than, oh, why didn't you do this for me? Because, you know, I expected you to do this for me. And like, it's like, I didn't realize that. Like, I've had some experience with that myself in a partner, like way back when, like consistent gaslighting. It's like your brain chemistry almost changes in that situation. It's like you become a different person. Just like in the music industry, when consistently I'm told I have to be a certain way to have success, or I have to dress sexy to have success, or whatever the reasoning is.
And I'm really proud of you for being able to break the mold, because especially as women, like and you being in the music industry, like as a Latina woman, it's like there's so many like expectations, and people are always telling you like, oh, you need to do this, oh, you need to do that. And
why aren't you doing reggaeton?
And it's just like you can be able to make music the way that you want and represent yourself the way that you want, because at the end of the day, it's your life, it's your music, and it's not theirs.
No, it's, I mean, 100%. It's like they'll be like, oh, you know, you're like a Disney character because you're nice and you dress this way or whatever. And I'm like, why does that sound so condescending? Like, like why is Disney character a bad thing?
Like, it's just like so many people necessarily, like I've seen that a lot, like I wouldn't say just like in the music industry, but like content creation or
social media,
whatever, like so many people like to give in their input of what you should necessarily doing, but at the end of the day, they're not the ones doing it.
And they're not the one, you.
And they're not the ones with the image. They don't know what it's like to have to be in this industry or have to perform. And at the end of the day, like it's just something that you're going to be doing. It's your life, and you have to live it the way that you want.
Yeah, and like I guess, how do you deal with the haters, or like, you know, the crazy comments that might I don't know, judge you for what you're doing in your personal life, right?
I do get those a lot, but I would say that for me personally, I kind of like it, because
they're kind of fun to read,
right? Like whenever I read them, it's just like hilarious sometimes, like just seeing how people think. I'm just like, oh, like I don't know, in today's society, I've been through a lot in my life, and so when I see other people commenting and they make like such big like problems and drama about things that are just so tiny and minuscule, and it's like, who cares, like if I wore this, or if like I'm gonna go live my life and travel if I want. Like at the end of the day, it's my life and I can do what I want. And whenever I get hater comments, I just like remind myself that at the end of the day, like this is my life. They're not the ones living it. And growing up in abuse, I feel like you kind of used to that kind of language. So whenever I see it again, I just feel bad for those people because I know the type of like people that would say things like that. And at the end of the day, they're kind of like just miserable people. So.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. I'm like, usually when people comment stuff like that, it's because it struck true for them in some way.
Or they're jealous, or they don't feel like adequate, they don't feel good enough, and that's something that they have to work on individually for themselves. So it's just like an insecurity thing, or they have a lot of things that are going on in their life and they feel like hating on someone else is just an outlet for them and it makes them feel good about themselves. And I'm like, hey, if this makes you feel good about yourself, okay. But at the end of the day, I can feel good about myself without having to partake in things like that.
Oh yeah, when I went viral for that like breaking stereotype series, like 3,000 comments of like, no, I disagree with you, and it's just like everyone's fighting about what Latina should look like, and I'm just like,
some people think of Latinas and they like picture one specific thing, and it's like, well, they can all look different, they can look different, they can like speak a little bit differently because there's different like dialects and everything. And so I mean, at the end of the day, like there's not one specific mold that you have to fit into.
There isn't one way to be anything at all. It's like any culture.
Exactly.
You can look one way and feel a different way. Like I have a friend who's British and Japanese, and like he does not look Japanese, but he speaks Japanese. He's like really engrossed in like the Japanese culture. Like he basically grew up going to Japan every summer. Like it's like, okay, why can't you be two things? You can be British and Japanese. Like why is it one thing?
And just because he doesn't look Japanese on the outside doesn't necessarily make him less Japanese if he's speaking it and he's like ingrained himself into the culture, et cetera, et cetera. So
I mean, like I've never fully ingrained myself into like American culture. I grew up with a grandmother who only speaks Spanish, and like, you know, grew up going to all of these Latin parties and family parties and
having community. I would say that American culture is very confusing to me because it's not, there's no necessarily like, I don't even know what to describe American culture as. Like, do we even have culture? Like when I think of American culture, I think of the American flags on the 4th of July. But like other countries have fireworks. Other countries have their flags. Like it's not necessarily specific to us. But I would say that within American culture, like there's not really like huge senses like of community. Everyone is very like heavy on individualism.
Or like just success. It's literally it's very like focused on, you know, making money, success,
like
and
like a very capitalistic mindset.
And like how do you get there? By yourself. And like you don't need anyone's help. And it's just like, okay, but most artists, for example, they have a team for a reason. They have people helping them for a reason, because it's physically impossible to do everything yourself. Like an artist life is like running your own company, and it's all
your
these
business,
sectors.
Your image, your songs, the producing, like you're doing multiple different jobs.
And like and we're like set out to believe that if we're not doing it by ourselves and we're not working 24/7, like just pouring our entire lives into it, we won't succeed.
That's insane. That's like causing burnout.
Oh yeah, I need a lot of sleep.
And like at the end of the day, how are you going to be creative if you're having to take on all of these different tasks by yourself?
And like even if I do take it on all by myself, it's like, who says that you have to work 24/7 and not have a life to succeed? It's like you should have a balance. That's the only way to be happy.
I feel like that is a very American thing, to where they don't necessarily take the time to like go on vacations. That's why we're known for having like such short vacation times, because like in Europe they like do like it for a lot longer. Like they actually spend time with their families and like go out on vacations together, and like there's a huge sense of community there, but not necessarily here.
A good amount of them call it holiday. They make it sound even prettier and happier. Like I'm like, yes, going away is a holiday. Like we should celebrate it.
Just like the wording alone, it just sounds nicer and fancy.
I know. I mean, I guess a topic that I kind of wanted to get into is like now that you're in your healing kind of era, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what does the word like self-love mean to you now?
Okay, so in the beginning, I didn't necessarily know what love was like, especially because I didn't really like feel it before, and it felt very transactional. For self-love, like for me specifically, is just being able to be grounded in who you are and being able to realize that you are worthy, you are enough. You don't necessarily need to put yourself down all the time, because that is what I just grew up used to doing all the time. I
Yeah.
never felt like I was good enough, and I always felt like I had to reach the next level. And so with like self-love is just like appreciating yourself like as you are, not necessarily having to listen to societal expectations of how you should present yourself, like how you should look, how you should, I guess, like dress, etc. Like just feeling comfortable within yourself and not necessarily having to listen to what other people have to say. And if other people say things, you're going to be grounded within who you are, and just realizing that at the end of the day, we're all going to die one day. And that sounds like very morbid,
But it's true.
It's true. And so at the end of the day, like we just have to live our lives and just feel like grounded and safe within ourselves, that we can just keep working towards like improving and like living out our dreams and doing all of these like accomplishments that make us happy. But at the end of the day, we don't have to necessarily live out to the expectations of what other people want for us. It's our life.
And I mean, what has it been like connecting with others online and seeing that in a way you're forming a community, like a community of people who need to hear what you have to say?
Yeah, so growing up in abuse, abusers don't want you to vocalize these types of things. It's always either like, oh, that never happened, or if you do speak up about it, then it's like, oh, it's your fault, etc. So it's like a lot of us aren't really like used to vocalizing about these issues. And so eventually when I did, I realized that I wasn't alone in it, because growing up in this, like you feel very isolated, very alone. And so eventually when I started vocalizing it more, I realized other people were going through it too. And I feel like that was just such a motivating factor for me, especially because I realized like this is more common than I thought it was. And it shouldn't be common, it shouldn't be normalized. And at the end of the day, I'm very heavy on being against abuse and holding abusers accountable. And I think that the best way to do that is in talking about it. I've seen a lot within our society and our world today is that so many people are so quick to hush victims and to silence us, and
then everyone's afraid to speak up.
They want to make victims afraid, because abusers don't want their victims to speak up about it. And at the end of the day, the most valuable and powerful thing that we have is our voice. And so in using that voice, I've been able to realize that other people have stories as well. And by using my voice, I'm also able to amplify theirs and also help other people feel seen and heard. Because whenever I see comments or DMs of people relating to my story or telling me their own personal stories, it makes me realize like, wow, like my 12-year-old self wasn't alone in this, and it wasn't super rare, and that other people have been through it as well. And so with amplifying my voice, I'm able to give people a sense of being able to be seen and heard and belonging and safety.
No, that's beautiful. Like I have a song literally called Speak Up. I wrote this as part of like a human rights campaign, because I was always really mad just growing up of just people being afraid to use their voices. And when hate was being spread, something bad was happening, like some crazy event happened in the world, it's like, why is no one talking about this? Like, why is no one actually like it? The conversation lasts 5 minutes, and then
people move on with their day.
And I'm like, I saw the craziest post yesterday, and someone saying, why is no one talking about this? Like, apparently there's a community online for like rapists.
I found out about that like 2 days ago.
To go, and I think because it's starting to get amplified by people speaking up their voices, and it's like this community that people go to talk about, I don't know, what they've done and how can we do it again. It's like, oh my goodness.
Giselle Petticoat, she's a woman from France, and she was being like sexually abused by her husband, and he was drugging her, and then he would have other men perform different acts on her.
Crazy.
And within her using her voice and speaking out against what her husband and those men did to her, it made me realize like, wow, like women, like, or even just like male victims in general, just people using their voices has the power to create some kind of change and spread awareness. And so I never even knew that things like that happened or took place. And so when Giselle Petticoat spoke about this, I realized like, wow, like stuff like that can really happen. And I know that it was able to give other women a voice who maybe they've had like thoughts about stuff like that happening to them, but they weren't sure. Because I mean, that's just a very insane thing for like a person to think about. No one wants to think that their loved one is like doing that to them. And so with this Academy website that's going on online, it's like bringing awareness to, oh, it wasn't just Giselle Petticoat and her one story. Like now people are flocking to the internet to partake in this. And this is real and it needs to be talked about, because if we didn't talk about it, then those users would still be able to operate and do whatever they're doing, and there would be really no real consequences or shame put onto those individuals for partaking in those acts. And so speaking about it is able to like spread awareness that this is not okay and that we're going to take steps moving forward to prevent this from being normalized. I can't believe it's normalized.
We have to talk about it. It's like people are like, this is controversial, this is it's taboo, I don't want to talk about this. But if we don't, what is going to keep happening in the world?
And they're just going to escalate from there, and that's unacceptable.
And it's also crazy to like normalize this. I was also seeing, and reading about, how women are more silenced than men. If men speak up about something, they are praised for it. If women speak up about it, they are, criticized, or they're like, we don't talk about that, and there's this stigma that exists around that. And it's crazy because the way I see it, we're all human, period. Like why should there be that difference? Just like with race and culture, right? Why should there be those stereotypes or those stigmas or those like separations, divisions between just groups of people, when we're all just like, we come from the same place, we're gonna die to the same place. It's like, it makes no sense to me.
It's just like in patriarchal societies especially, they want like the typical family where the man is the head of the house and the woman has to take care of the kids and take care of her family. And within those kinds of dynamics, I'm not saying that there's like anything wrong with that, but a lot of abuse can take place within those systems, and to where women are made to be submissive. And I grew up like in a very like religious background, and so I've seen that portrayed a lot, to where women are supposed to be submissive, we're supposed to be catering, we're supposed to be nurturing, and we're supposed to like center our lives and our purpose around men and necessarily what they want. And I would say that those kinds of ideals are harmful, because women end up of being in abusive situations and they feel like they have to stay there, or women don't necessarily feel like they have any agency over their own lives, and they feel like being attached to a man is their sole purpose and they're not meant for anything else. And so within like the system and everything, within patriarchal systems, it just places a lot of like painful expectations both on women but also on men, that men have to fit into a certain mold. And I think that in society, like at the end of the day, like if a man wants to have like more, I would say they're associated as being like more feminine characteristics, with being like more compassionate, more empathetic. To me, those are not like feminine characteristics. Those are humanistic characteristics. And so I would say that in patriarchal societies where they label like masculinity as supposed to having to be like strong, and I feel like it takes away from the human experience to where men can also feel like they need to be supported, or that they can be vulnerable with their own emotions. And I feel like a lot of these like heavy, like toxic societal expectations that we put onto each gender is necessarily like harmful, because if a certain woman doesn't want to fit into the mold of what like other men want them to do with their lives, and if a woman is saying that like, oh, I want a man that's strong and like tough, and like it kind of like doesn't allow a man to be able to be in touch with his most like vulnerable emotions and not be able to share it. I think that in society we just have to realize that putting expectations onto each other and saying that this is the mold and that you have to fit into it is harmful, because people aren't necessarily able to express themselves, because not everyone is the same. Like, people are different. We have different characteristics, different personalities. And so when you try to fit a certain personality into a set mold, you're kind of barring that person from their own individual potential.
Everything is like gray area to me. Like, I talk a lot about being multifaceted. You know, it's not black and white. Like, for example, I grew up in a very Latin culture, right? But, you know, people expect Latin culture to be more machismo, patriarchal, right? But I grew up with, like, yes, I still have like these old-fashioned dating values, right? Let's say, but it's like each person will have their likes and dislikes, and that's okay too. You can be a strong, independent woman and still want to get treated nicely by a man.
Exactly,
you know, there's no right or wrong in anything. It's just a matter of if you mesh well with someone, right? And your values and their values. But again, you shouldn't expect someone to change who they are to fit your mold.
Exactly. Like, everyone's molds are different, and so one individual isn't going to necessarily fit into the mold of what you think life should look like. And I don't think that anyone has the authority to tell other people how they should live their lives and what mold that they should be fitting into. Same thing with like music. Like, I don't think anyone should be out here trying to control how other people create music and how they should represent themselves. Like, at the end of the day, that's a very like individualistic decision of how people want to live their lives and portray themselves out in the world, and especially on social media.
No, agreed. And speaking about kind of what you're doing now, you're traveling the world a bit, right? with John, right? And you're exploring new countries, new cultures. So how has that been a part of your journey now that you're kind of like in your healing journey as well?
So for me, I was very isolated growing up, like extremely isolated. I never really left my house, and if I did, it was solely for just church and school, and my church and school were the same thing. So I never really got to see what the world was like or meet other people, because we were taught that the world is sinful and we need to separate ourselves from it. But in doing that, I was just extremely isolated and like brainwashed. And so I went on my like first solo trip to Hawaii, and that was like the first time I ever went somewhere like by myself. I believe I was like 20. And so when I went, that was just like such an amazing journey, because I was taught that like women can't do this and et cetera, et cetera. And then I did it and I was like, but women can, and I can do this. And then eventually after that, I went to Guatemala solo, and I hiked like an active volcano. And I was just so used to like coming from a background to where they say women can't do this and you're not allowed to do this and it's dangerous and et cetera. And then when I went for myself, I was like, but I can do this. And I love meeting other people around the world. And it's not as dangerous as other people try to portray it as. And eventually I came back from Guatemala and I told John that I'm going to travel Asia. Like, I was going to backpack Asia, and I was like, I know you're working, so I mean, I'll see you when I get back. He just didn't want it to be that way. He wanted to travel with me. And so he ended up leaving his job and changing his life so that he could go and travel with me. And so we've just been traveling ever since then. And I would say that like world travel has been one of the hugest like eye openers for me, because I've been able to open my perspective, especially after being isolated my whole life. I've been able to see other cultures, meet other people, see what other people believe, like eat different food. And I feel like it's just like the most amazing thing. Like, just being able to build relationships with people that come from different places. They have different beliefs, they have different perspectives, and you're just taking in so much information and you're learning more. And it's more about like being able to learn more about other people and how they live, and just being able to do that and realizing that I don't necessarily need to fit within the mold of what other people want. When I graduated school for nursing, everyone was telling me like, oh, you got to go into work as a nurse right away. And I was like, I don't necessarily want to do that. Like, I want to live my life and I want to see the world and travel, and I've been able to do that. And so it's just been a great like privilege for me to be able to do that after never really traveling anywhere when I was younger. And so being able to see the world and see the impacts and meet other people has just been one of the most like amazing things like of my life, and I'll never take it for granted.
Yeah, I remember the first time I traveled internationally, I fell in love. I'm like, I need to do this again and
Book more
again
flights.
and again. Like, my next trip is probably Europe. I'm dying to just travel Europe.
I know, it's so beautiful and so amazing. And just
Mhm.
being able to see how like different people live instead of like just being fed one perspective all your
Yeah.
life. Especially like in America, we do things differently. And so being able to visit other countries and see how other people live is just like an eye opener.
And it's like, it's almost like you're unlearning what you're told
Exactly.
is right.
Mm-hmm.
The like everyone's like experience is subjective, so you can't just, no one is right about anything.
Yeah.
It's
Some
just-
people think they're right, but then you might meet other people that are right in their eyes. And so it's like,
everyone has opinions. It's like then you go to a different country and you realize that perspectives are completely different. When I went to Colombia, everything was about relaxation, being tranquil, like no stress, right? And I'm like, this is so odd. I'm so used to being stressed.
Yeah.
What do I do about this? But no, I fell in love with that perspective, and I brought a little bit of that home with me. And it's like you never stop learning.
Yeah, definitely. Every time you travel, there's always like something new that you can learn. And I would say that the biggest like thing that I've taken away from it is that other countries are very community based, like especially within their people. They're always there for each other. And I would say that coming back here, it's hard to find that sense of community. I would say especially for me, because I am no contact with my family, and that was supposed to be my community. But at the end of the day, you can find other people to try to bring into your community and just grow from there.
And what has been your favorite country so far? I'm sure you've been asked this.
Yeah, I'm asked this a lot. I don't know. Like I hold like a special place in my heart for Guatemala because I did go by myself, and I was like a couch potato, and then I didn't think that I was gonna go and hike an active volcano. Except I met some people there that told me like, oh, you have to do it, and then I did it. And so I don't know, like I feel like Guatemala was the place where like I really worked on myself and realized that like, like, hey, like I can do all these things. And Guatemala just like changed my life, and meeting the people there. And I learned Spanish in high school, but like not practicing it. I was able to practice it there, and I was like, wait, I do remember some things, but now that I haven't practiced it in a while, it's like all of that has left me. But it made me realize that like, wow, like I can really travel places by myself. Like I can talk to other people, especially if we don't know how to communicate with each other. Like I just pull up my phone and then get to know someone. And so I feel like that was just like one of the coolest trips for me, even though I've been to like, I think 18 other countries by now.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Take me with you. No. Have you ever felt any fear of speaking up or breaking out of that mold?
So for me, especially, I feel like I just realized that at the end of the day, like when you grow up as a young child, like never thinking that you were going to see yourself like past a certain age, you just realize that like at the end of the day, like life is just something that you just need to jump into and live. So when I was finally given the opportunity to speak out about my things, I was like worrisome about like what other people would say, but I just realized like it's just like they're just typing on a phone screen. I just have to do it. And then with traveling the world, I was just like
red carpets.
Yeah, like or the red carpets. I freaked out about that. I was just like, I just have to do it. Like you just, even if you have this like fear or you're scared, you just have to jump into it and face your fears and just go for it. Because at the end of the day, a lot of people just have to do life scared.
Oh yeah, like improvisation. Yes, and
you're not necessarily going to be super confident about something. I feel like that's like a misconception that people like have, is just they think that you have to be confident before you do something, and it's like that's not the case. Like you can be 100% scared and just jump into doing something, and confidence is something that you build. You're not necessarily just going to have it out of the blue because you want it. It's something that you have to consistently work on.
I mean, I like jumping into music as a career is scary.
Yeah,
it's
sure,
like
it's so up and down.
It's so unstable. It's so like, am I gonna survive this? Am I gonna get out of this, not wanting to do music anymore? Like, am I going to get judged? You feel those things every day, but I feel like everyone does
Mhm.
about their, you know, their version of living their lives, you know, but it's like you said, it's about kind of jumping into it, especially if it's something that maybe you are excited about on the inside, and or you're deeply passionate about.
Mhm.
You do it through the fear. People, like you said, you know, they say like, no, you have to first, you know, build that self-confidence.
Mhm.
But if you are feeling deep inside, this is what I need to do, you do it through the fear,
Yeah.
not after the fear.
Yeah, exactly. Like whenever I see people say that like you just have to be confident before you do something, I'm like, that's not the case, because you're not gonna, when you're doing something new and something that you've never done before, you're not gonna be confident. You're gonna have some doubts. You're gonna have some fears. You just have to do it.
Well, I used to have stage fright. The way I got through my stage fright, like the way I literally got better from my stage fright was performing a bunch. So I was afraid performing as a kid, and finally, like in my teenage years, I was like, oh, it's nothing.
Yeah, it's like a repetition thing. Like when you face your fears over and over and over again, the fear just doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. Now I can sing in the middle of the street and I don't care who sees me.
I'm not at that level yet. But that's so cool.
We'll get you there. I'll bring you singing with me in the middle of Times Square.
I mean, I would have to do it. I mean, like when you face your fears, you just have to jump into it.
We got it. So to kind of finish off, for someone who feels stuck between what they know is right and, you know, what the world expects from them, what would you say to them? What advice would you give?
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, like what's right for you isn't going to be right for someone else. And if you feel that pull within yourself that you're meant to be a certain thing or to go to a certain place or do a certain thing and chase your dream of what you want your life to look like, you just have to do it. Like it's just something that you just have to like accept within yourself. Like if you follow what other people want, like for your life, like are you going to regret it? And I feel like that was one of the biggest things, is I was supposed to live up to the expectations of what my parents had wanted for me, and that was essentially like a very like constricting and controlled environment, like full of me having to tolerate a lot of mistreatment and disrespect and abuse. And I realized like I don't want to fit into whatever mold that they expected of me. And I knew that like maybe I could have something different, and it was like so scary, but like I just jumped into it and I was just like, I just have to do it. Like this feels right for me, and so I want to do it. I want to chase it. And if you ever feel any self-doubts, you just have to keep telling yourself consistently. I talk to myself all the time, but it's just giving yourself that pep talk. And it's not weird. Like at the end of the day, you have an inside voice within your head, and you just have to tell yourself that everything is going to work out for you, and that you're going to keep working towards your goal and what you want, and live the life that you want to live. Because a lot of the other people that are giving you input, maybe they do have wisdom that you should open yourself up to, but at the end of the day, what they say doesn't have to be the deciding factor for how you have to live your life. Like that, like you can decide what you want to do with your life, what makes you happy.
Oh yeah, you reminded me of like there's an exercise that my mom does with her students, because she's like an acting teacher, and she's gotten people like all over the world to do this randomly, and she's just like, you have to go in front of the mirror when you first thing you do when you wake up in the morning. Felix, who's behind the camera, remembers. You have to go in front of the mirror. As soon as you wake up, you don't look at your phone, you don't do anything else, and you hug yourself and you say, I love myself, and I'm so happy to be alive and healthy. And then you give yourself a pep talk after that.
No, seriously, like it does make a huge impact. Like a lot of people have asked me, like
manifestation in a way through
manifesting
words.
it, and like having those affirmations within yourself. I like a lot of people ask me like, how did you get out of that? Like, and it's like till this day, like I don't really know. All I know is that I had to talk to myself a lot through it, and like if I ever had any doubts, I would say all of my doubts, and I would always tell myself like, I'm going to be okay. You're going to make it out of it one day, and you're going to create a beautiful life for yourself. And so you're just consistently like saying it out loud, and then you're kind of speaking it into existence, because the more that you say something, the more that you're going to believe it. If you keep telling yourself like, oh, I'm ugly, I'm useless, I'm worthless, you're going to believe that about yourself. But even if you don't believe that you are worthy that you're loved and that you're beautiful, even if you don't believe it yet. The more that you say it, the more that you're going to accept those things into your life.
Yeah. It's subconscious.
Exactly.
You have to, like, I try every day to be like, I'm going to be successful. I'm going to be okay. You know,
every day.
I'm going to make it. You know, it's a struggle, but I know it's going somewhere, because why would the universe keep throwing me in directions that like have to do with my dream? You know, it's like I could have easily given up and gotten a 9-to-5. But the universe keeps handing me opportunities, and I'm like, this has to be for a reason. So I have to keep going.
Exactly. You just have to keep pushing yourself and convincing yourself, because everyone's going to feel doubts at times. Like, it's just how it is. People are happy, people are sad. It's not supposed to be happy. And so whenever you feel down, you just have to keep telling yourself that you're going to make it through it.
Express yourself.
Feel the emotions, and then just like jump into it and move forward with it.
So what is next for you?
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, my partner and I had just come back from like almost a 6-month long like traveling trip, and we were just like traveling around Asia, and it was so amazing. And so like I had to go through some things last year, and then like John had noticed like I was like struggling, and he was just like, you need to start traveling again. And then I started traveling more, and then like I came more out of my shell, and I was able to like focus on what I was feeling and move through it. But I don't know what's next. Maybe I'll want to go and start traveling again. Maybe I'll want to stay here longer. Maybe I'll want to build a business. Who knows? Like, I mean, I'm just like taking life like day by day and just doing what I feel feels right.
That's the best way, because if you make too many plans, you know, there's a saying that I think it's from a movie, but it's like life is what happens when you're busy making plans. And it's like you have to kind of focus on the present too.
Yeah, exactly.
Because things could be happening.
You'll miss out on your present because you're focusing too much on the future. But it's important to have future plans. But for me, I feel like I have like an undiagnosed ADHD. So if I make too many plans, it won't get done. So I feel like I just like take it day by day, and like I focus on one thing, and then I have to finish that before I move on to the next. But I mean, we'll see what life has in store for me. Sometimes like the greatest opportunities literally just come out of nowhere.
Yep, they surprise you.
Yeah.
So there's a little tradition I do at the end of my podcasts. And it's just kind of creating a little jingle based off of
okay, like a music jingle.
Kind of yes and no. I just basically sing out loud 3 phrases that you give me.
Okay.
So the phrases. So the phrases. Let's say that maybe they sum up a little bit your message or what we spoke about in the podcast. So it could be like 3 simple phrases.
Well, I have in my bio, like in my healing and self-love era. Is that like,
in my healing and self-love era?
Yeah. Do I need 2 more?
Let's give it 1 more.
Okay. Pain into power. No, yeah. Pain into power. And then power into purpose, and purpose into peace.
Okay, I'm gonna sing out loud all the phrases that Melissa gave me. I do not have a melody, so it'll just come out as it comes. Pain into power, power into purpose, purpose into peace. In my healing and self-love era, this is the Non-Conformess.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know how to even attempt.
It worked.
New song inspo.
I know. You're writing that tonight. You like give Melissa song credit.
No, yeah, but I really like that phrase, because it's talking about how you can come from like a painful experience, and then you can create your own power through that, and with that you can find purpose, and then you can create your own peaceful experience.
No, I think that's really beautiful. Like it's a cool kind of like progression of life. Well, thank you, Melissa, for joining us.
No, thank you for having me on. This is so cool, like to be able to be a part of like your non-conforming like era, and just being able to like have this sense of like agency within yourself, and being able to do what you want with your life, and not necessarily having to fit into the mold, and breaking through and living life as you want.
Well, your story does that in so many ways, and it's super inspiring. I know when I met you, I was like, I want to be this girl's friend.
Oh my gosh, wait, no, you're super inspiring. Like, can you imagine like getting on a stage and having to perform in front of a ton of people? I would be there. I'd be like, oh my gosh.
Remember, it took practice. It took practice to not be as scared of it, you know. But you know, it's my life now. But it's like what you're doing, traveling the world now. You know, moving past all the obstacles and you know all of the negative energy maybe that the world may have thrown your way, but moving past that and doing all of these amazing things, seeing the world through different lenses. Like,
yeah, I feel like that's just a part of the human experience. Some have it harder than others, but it's just something that we have to live through. And we can create a beautiful life on the other side. And I'm watching you do that. And so that's just so cool. And you're going to go to Miami soon. So you're going to be able to put down roots there and be able to discover yourself there, which is super cool.
Well, continue to be who you are. Continue to share your voice. Never dull that voice.
Period.
Oh, yeah.
All I do is...
and I always say at the end, like, spread love, not stereotypes. Hey. Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you for having me.